It's been put out there that I left the Marines for the Ramones, and that's not really the truth. What really happened was I was already home for quite a while. When I left, I was waiting to be discharged. I was already pretty much out. The Marine Corps decided they weren't going to let me go, and in my mind, I was already out. Literally, the day before I was going to go back, a friend of mine called me up and said, yo, the Ramones are auditioning bass players tonight in New York City at SIR Studio. He was like, you should go. I was like, what am I going to do that for? And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go down and meet the Ramones. So I grabbed my bass. The action was probably like that from sitting around for so long, covered in dust. I had a Fender jazz bass. I think it was like a early 70s model. And I just went down, just figured this is going to be fun, you know. I wasn't intimidated. I wasn't nervous because I did not expect, I wasn't going there to get the audition. I was going there to meet the band. Went in, introduced myself to Johnny, introduced myself to Mark. They were like, what song do you know? Now, I knew no Ramones songs. I hadn't played a cover song in years. On the way there, I just listened to I Want to Be Sedated a whole bunch of times. I knew it was an E. I basically could fudge my way through it, and so I went to the audition. Never played with a pick before. Had to stop in a music store and buy picks on my way to the audition. I went, you know, they asked me what song. I said, I Want to Be Sedated, played the song once. We stopped. Johnny asked me a couple questions. Joey walked in, played the song again, and left, and figured, that's it, you know. That was fun. Went home, called everybody I knew. I went and jammed with the Ramones today, you know, I was totally psyched. Figured that's probably about as good as life's gonna get. I got a phone call from Monty the next day. I came home, my mother was like, Monty Melnick from the Ramones called you. I was like, did I leave a cord at the studio or something? And I called him back, and he was like, all right, so come back on Monday and learn a couple more songs. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right. I did it. I learned a couple more songs, went back, hung out with Johnny. He asked me, you know, are you a fan, blah, blah. Had a little conversation with him. He said, all right, thanks, we'll see you. And the same thing happened. Got a call back a couple days later. All right, come back. So now in my mind, I'm like, wow, I got a couple callbacks, you know what I mean? That's pretty good. So one of the last times I went, I walked in, Mark counted off the song, and they launched into live speed. Up to this point, we were playing at record speed. They launched into live speed, and I just stopped playing. And Johnny was like, what's the matter? You can't handle it? I go, I can handle it, but if you want me to play it at that speed, you have to tell me that so I can learn it at that speed. So he was like, okay, go to Mark's house. He's got a live tape for you. I said, all right. Next day, I drive out to Mark's house in Brooklyn, pick up the tape, go home, start learning at that speed. Went to another audition. And after that one, I was like, oh my God, I'm really in the running for this. In my head now, I'm trying to figure out how I can get out of this thing with the Marine Corps. So I call back to base. I go, hey, listen, my name is Ward, CJ, private. I go, I was waiting on a discharge when I left. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, what I need to do to get straightened out. The guy on the phone's like, all right, where are you at? We'll call you back. 15 minutes later, the cops knocked on my door, picked me up, took me to jail. Bounty hunter picked me up the next morning, took me to Philadelphia Naval Brig. 2 Marines picked me up from there, took me down to Quantico, Virginia. I got a mohawk at this point. They bring us there. The first thing they do is they march us over to the barber. And I sit down in a chair, and the barber's got a big smile on his face. He's like, I'm going to enjoy this one. Shaves my head. They take us over to where we're going to be staying. I'm sitting there in the common area watching Yo MTV Raps. And the corporal on duty comes out, and he's like, hey, Ward, you got a phone call. I walk over, I pick up the phone. Hello? Chris? Yeah, it's Johnny Ramone. I was like, oh. I go, Johnny, listen, I'm really sorry. I should have told you guys. I said, but, you know, I just wanted to see how far I could take it. He said, well, what did they say? I said, well, I heard when I was in the brig up in Philadelphia that there's a new commandant in the Marine Corps, and they're just trying to clean the book. So I'm going to be here probably a month, 2 months, and then they're going to give me a discharge, and I'll be done. And he was like, all right, well, do your time, and you got a job when you get out. I actually ended up only being in there for 3 or 4 weeks. They put me on a Greyhound with $30 and sent me home. Called Monty Melnick as soon as I got in. I said, hey, Monty, I'm back. He said, all right, well, take the weekend off, and Monday we start rehearsing. 5 weeks, I learned 40 songs, and I did my first show September 30th, 1989 in Leicester, England, and that was it. From there on out, it was big change in lifestyle. Big change in lifestyle.